You know, it's really hard to describe how massive the movie Ghostbusters was when it was released back in 1984. Man, I remember that summer. I was 14 years old, and it was all anyone would talk about. Everyone, and I mean everyone, saw that movie. It was the biggest movie of that summer. It was the highest grossing comedy of all times up to that point, and it wound up being the second highest grossing movie of 1984. And every kid went out that Halloween dressed as a Ghostbuster. Now, 40 years later, it is still considered an iconic film, beloved by everyone. However, the follow-up movie, Ghostbusters 2 in 1989, is considered both pretty much a commercial and critical failure. And the less that's said about Ghostbusters 2016, the better. That may be one of the worst movies I've ever seen.
Terrible, take a lap.
Now, things would turn around for the franchise a bit in 2021 with the release of Ghostbusters Afterlife, which mixed a newer, younger cast in with the veterans from the first two movies. Now, it wasn't a massive success, but it made enough money to spawn a sequel. And that sequel is Ghostbusters Frozen Empire, which was released this past weekend. So what do we have here? Is this a successful follow-up to the last film? Or even something that perhaps rises to the iconic levels of the first? Or is it a repeat of Ghostbusters 2, critical failure, commercial failure, or heaven forbid, Ghostbusters 2016? Well, before we answer that, let's talk a little bit about the plot for the movie Ghostbusters Frozen Empire.
Let's talk.
So here we find the Spengler family, the daughter of Egon and her two children, Callie and Trevor, who we met in the last film. They return to the iconic New York City firehouse, but they're not alone. Gary, their school teacher, is now dating their mother, and he's with them as well. This foursome, with the help of the three original Ghostbusters, continue to try to keep New York City ghost-free. However, with the discovery of an ancient artifact which unleashes an evil force, the Ghostbusters, new and old, must unite to protect their home and save their world from a second ice age. I think one of the biggest problems in modern day filmmaking is to take a franchise like this and try to raise up the new characters by shitting all over the original characters in an attempt to make these new characters the ones we love, and the old characters, well, you know, they were never that good to begin with. But this never works. I mean, think of Star Wars and what they did with Luke, Han, and Leia. Think of Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, what they did with Indiana Jones. Well, you know, it's better not to think about that at all, actually. Now, thankfully, this doesn't happen here. You know, while the new characters do drive most of the plot along, all the older ones are given important things to do. They're well written and they're well acted, and are never looked down upon by the newer characters. Both new and old work together to achieve the common goal. The original stars are utilized to a greater extent than they were in Ghostbusters Afterlife, too. Especially Dan Aykroyd. He gives a great performance as Ray. You know, there are solid performances by the new cast as well. McKenna Grace and Finn Wolfhard are great as the Spengler kids. And as always, Paul Rudd is his normal, endearing self. However, what I really liked about this also sort of holds it back a little. You know, the Achilles heel of this movie is its very essence. It wants to cover so much and have so many characters that it really never fully develops the multiple protagonists who come to life in the plot. There are just too many people in this. You know, by successfully incorporating the original Ghostbusters with the many new members of the cast, it's sometimes hard to follow. And while the story may be solid, it's pretty generic. You know, it's a good movie. It could have been great. 15 minutes on the editing room floor, 10 minutes needed to smooth out the story, and 5 minutes too much overstuffing the cast with unnecessary characters that didn't need to be there. That's kind of where the problem lies. You know, I did want to see the new and old characters married together, and they did that successfully, but then they add a whole bunch of other characters in the film, and it's just a bit bloated. So, while it does not match the original, and really, honestly, did we really think it would? It does hold its own with Afterlife, and is a step above Ghostbusters 2 and about 100 steps above Ghostbusters 2016. So Frozen Empire may not make a profound impact, but if you are a fan of the franchise, it will certainly make you feel good.
It was good, but not great.
Well, that's it from me this week. Tune in next week where I'll give you my thoughts on whatever I've seen. In the meantime, click that like button, subscribe, leave a comment, share this video with friends and enemies alike. And as always, thank you for giving me your valuable time, and I'll see you next week. Take care.